Hello everyone, it's been a while since I've done one of these, but today I want to give you a meta update on what are the top decks in Hearthstone and a little bit on what are some fun decks to play, some fun innovations I've made personally, and something you can try out on the ladder yourself. Let's get right into it. I'll get started. Fun and good decks to play. Firstly, I'm going to go over a little bit what the good decks are. The good decks haven't really changed much. I would refer you for some of those to previous videos and the codes. I'll put the codes for all of the good decks in the description below again if you just want to copy decks and play something powerful on ladder. It's totally up to you, but I'm not going to go over explaining the same deck for the 5th time. Okay, let's get started. Firstly, we have some of the good decks currently on ladder are Spell Demon Hunter. Spell Demon Hunter is a very powerful deck. It's super played in High Legend. You have 3 minions, Silvermoon Arcanist, Valorin. Of course, you have Lady Steno. Lady Steno is used for a lot of burst damage, together with cards like Predation being then for 0 and just basically clicking your opponent in the face. If your opponent doesn't play anything, you can go ahead and kill them with Steno, or generally just Chaos Striking, Mark of Scorning, Pointing Weapons, face. If they build a board, use an Arcanist, clear the board, gain your life back. Or alternatively, if they make a board, play Sinful Brand. You brand an enemy minion. Whenever it takes damage, deal 2 damage to the enemy hero. So you put this on a minion, preferably something with a lot of HP. Then you play cards like Security with the Rushers or Feather Warband with the Rushers. You point that face, and then the Rushers go into the minion, dealing even more damage. And then you have the weapons that go face. You have this card that goes face. Chaos that clears the board. Basically, you get the idea. You click everything face. This is also the reason why I don't even have the deck crafted for myself. I personally despise it, but I think it is my job as giving you the content that you guys deserve to showcase this deck and give you the idea that it exists. If you want to play it, you can play it. I will not judge you for it. I personally just don't like it. That's why I don't have it crafted. But this is a super powerful deck. It basically crushes like all of ladder. Except for maybe Paladin, because taunts can be annoying. But of course, you have Security and other rushes to be able to deal with those taunts, as well as Silvermoon Arcanist with Unleashed Fel that you can even reinforce from Taste of Chaos to deal with those taunts. Next up, and I'm going to go quick here, there are a bunch of Druid decks. There are those without the Hedge Maze and some with the Hedge Maze. I think the Hedge Maze is a really fun, cool idea. I personally really like this version of the deck because I think it's a little bit something different to play. You can play a Hedge Maze, and if you go into longer games, you can activate like the Groovy Cat to give you hero powers, to make like an 8 attack hero power, or you can shuffle with the band, which has, of course, Fizzle in the band. You can shuffle more cats and make bigger hero powers and smash your opponent's minions with Rake, especially when you play against like Blood Decay or Slow decks. You can really overwhelm them. But if you play against faster decks, you have the idea to go Hedge Maze, trigger friendly's minion's Death Rattle, and use it on cards like Explosive Sheep, which deals 4 damage AoE, because the sheep will also kill itself when you trigger its Death Rattle, or Ozomat, which will spawn 5 tentacles and destroy 5 random minions, and you get to keep the Ozomat. Or of course you have, and this is like the win-win condition of the deck, is a Nuber Khan. You play a Nuber Khan, get some armor, play like an Under King, and then play a Zoc and get some humongous taunts that will stop any aggressive deck in its tracks. I think this is the cool version. This might not be the best. The other version might be a little bit better in High Legend because you want to have more armor gain, and this doesn't have the maximum amount of armor gain, which is what you need against Spell DH, which is the other deck that's super represented in High Legend. But this Druid deck is like somewhat fun to play because the Hedge Maze idea is pretty cool, and you sometimes get like 8 attack hero powers, and it just feels like Ragnar shooting your opponent in the face every time. Next up, we do have Miracle Rogue. Miracle Rogue is still a super strong deck. I saw some people finish for Super High Legend with it. It has a really, really bad matchup into the Demon Hunter, but a really good one into the Druid. So if you still like Miracle Rogue, go back, check out some of the older guides. The deck's basically the same. You can still play the same stuff. I'll refer you back to the older videos. But for now, I want to spend some more time on cool new ideas that have been coming up through the patches. Some that have really good, some that are promising, and some that are just kind of memes. Alright? And firstly, I'm going to start off with the decks that are good. And then I'm going to go over to memes. And then I'm going to go to Bunny Special, which I think is actually good and a meme. So that'll be the last one. Hope you guys are going to enjoy that one. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and start with the deck that I think is pretty good. I made this myself. It's a secret concoction rogue. Basically, the whole idea here is you play a lot for pressure. you have cards like Private Eye that give you 2 secrets, and I've opted to only go for board-centric secrets like Sticky Situation, Ambush, and Perjury. Perjury is of course the nuts because now your spell pool is just so much better and so much stronger. You try to leverage the board that you get from early concoctions or from mid-range minions such as Pozic or the Private Eye, and you leverage it with like cards like Blingtron and Krakatoa to push it over the line and aggressively push your opponent out of the game by having a lot of board presence. If you play against super slow decks, you can, of course, go for really impactful Hanar turns. There's some really good secrets that give you the Hanar back, where you can go like Infinite. You have Queen Azara to maybe shuffle spells or get Colossals. And, of course, in the band we have, as always, we have Photographer Fizzle. And Fizzle lets you shuffle a snapshot of your hand into the deck, and if you have a Shadow Step in hand, you can Shadow Step the Fizzle and play it again, get more snapshots, get more value, and pressure your opponent out of the game. This even works against slower controllish decks. Secret Rogue, super fun deck to play. If you want disruption, like you play against a Druid, they ramp, they have a few cards in hand that are impactful. You can go like Gravedigger, and together with secrets, you can often find a way to like take away their important resources, like take away their Nubercon, and stabilize that way. And if you're playing against aggressive decks, you try to grab the board early, and then you use the Sunflare Clergy together with Shadow Step to heal yourself back up. Alright, that's the Secret Concoction Rogue. I had a lot of fun with this. I think this deck is actually quite good, and it's something really different to play from what some of the meta decks are. Next up, and this one's a fat meme. This mage deck, in my opinion, is a fat meme. It's like not that great, but I think it has like some potential. I think if you actually wanted to play this on ladder, I've completely memed this one out to the maximum point with Fizzle, with Azara, with the shuffles, because you, of course, you can get Azara spells and you can volume up them. This is a little bit too greedy probably, but if you want to play like a more ladder-focused deck, I think it would take out like a Fizzle here, to take away a little bit of the greed that I've tried to put into the deck, and I would replace it with like another Glacier Shard, or of course, if you find the meta is too aggressive in the ranks that you are playing, you also have always the option of playing additional armor vendors, which will help you stabilize. So like maybe another armor vendor for like a Fizzle, and maybe another Audio Splitter replacement for another armor vendor is something that will help you stabilize some of the early boards. This deck's definitely a meme, but it can be pretty fun against control if you get to copy a bunch of Deathborns, and then you get to make boards and boards and boards and copy like cold cases and stuff like this. And then you play Kel'Thuzad and you have like 20 Corpse Explosions, and that can definitely go ahead and kill your opponent's control deck. Like I said, this one's a little bit of a meme. It's like okay, but it's not a great deck, but it's super fun to play. I had tons of fun and going like alibis and racking up cold cases, more cold cases, making a big Rommath and then destroying the opponent's board with a Rommath, following it up by Kel'Thuzad and getting my opponent out of the game. Plays a bunch of new buffed cards, so I think it's an interesting try. And then next up we have, this is a little bit of an old one as well, we just have a general Blood Decay. This is another one that I wanted to mention in the realm of like good decks. I'm going to post the deck code below. Blood Decay is not really anything new, but I want to include it because like for the control players here, Blood Decay is of course something that is still playable even after the changes to Decay. And then last but not least, we have, and this is the super spicy deck, and I think this is actually good. I've actually had a good win rate with this in super high legend. I saw this on Twitter. I modified it a little bit to, I think, fit more to the meta. I think ETC doesn't super work in a deck like this, because if you want to go late game on value, you already have Identity Theft and Love Everlasting. This is a super fun deck if you're a control player, if you're a memer. I think for all of those, it's really interesting to play. The only thing that's super boring is the mirror, because neither of you can win the game. So you're just going to be stuck there for a while and maybe consider playing another game instead. For your early game plan, you have your 1-drops into, or 2-drops into Cathedral or Synchronize. Whenever you get to stick a 1-drop and then synchronize the 1-drop, you get so much value out of it. If you want to meme it up even more, if you feel experimental, you can also play Suspicious Usher to discover even more legendaries. Maybe you don't have some of the cards in the decks. Maybe like you want to try out something else. Put a Suspicious Usher in there, discover yourself to victory, have a little bit of fun. This is a cool replacement. Cards that are super important, that are kind of irreplaceable in this, are Love Everlasting and Sister Svalna, because you need them as the late game value kind of engine of this deck. I think this is pretty fun. You have good healing with a Clergy, you have some board control with a newly buffed Holy Nova, and of course you have super late game value with Svalna, with Identity Theft, and Love Everlasting. Super fun control deck in my eyes. If you play against Druid, stuff like this, use the Dirty Rat to try to disrupt their combo pieces. That's a super important part of the game plan. And of course, if you're playing against like more aggressive decks, especially if you're playing against Spell Demon Hunter and they don't have minions in their hand, it's totally fine to like coin out a Dirty Rat and then maybe play Synchronoids on it. Make a turn on turn 2, or you can have a 3-8 on turn 1. You have a 2-6. You can push some early damage and keep your opponent from hitting you in the face. Hope you guys enjoyed this short summary of all the new decks that we have in the meta. There are some changes to the meta because of the most recent nerfs, and these are some of the decks I think are definitely worth trying out if you're looking for something new and refreshing. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Always remember that you're valuable and you matter. I see you on stream. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them and come by.